We finally get to go into our Chinese Grand Prix weekend, just hours away from practice and a sprint qualifying, what upgrades and different specs of wings they've brought to manage what will probably be a very chaotic weekend. We could see different configurations all through practice 1 as teams are adjusting. We haven't actually been here yet, and looking into some of the changes they've made on track, it'll be very important that their simulators were working exactly as planned. With that all being said, let's start off with the rear wings. Looking at Red Bull, Mercedes, McLaren, and Ferrari. And one team has it much different here to the other three. When you look at the Red Bull wing, it does look different. That's mainly because they have a different sponsor. Bybit is usually on the back of the car, but because crypto sponsors are banned here in China, we have Red Bull on the back, which looks so much cleaner and nicer. I actually wish this is how it looked like throughout the season. But the actual downforce level of that rear wing is the exact same as Japan. They have a super loaded upper plane on this rear wing that's going to give them maximum DRS efficiency because the actual lower plane itself is pretty unloaded. This does make it a low to medium downforce type of rear wing, which is different to the others and something that I didn't actually expect a team would go for, considering a lot of their downforce comes from the floor of their car. This is why they can improvise with their wing in comparison to other teams, and the maximum efficiency they can get from the DRS is much higher to other teams. Typically, this is the case. So let's see if this was the right choice, but it's very rare that Red Bull gets it wrong. Every other team has a medium downforce rear wing. McLaren is an interesting one to look at because this car is going to struggle a lot through sectors 1 and 2. And if they don't have that DRS efficiency going on those straights, they're going to be really slow as well, considering the drag in the car. Mercedes has not gone with a lower downforce wing, which I thought maybe we could possibly see it from them, because they've been pretty strong even with that type of spec in the slow speed corners, but they've kept that same medium spec downforce wing we saw in Bahrain and a couple of other Grand Prix. Ferrari, same thing. This rear wing has been planted on this car since the beginning of the season, and I expect it to be the same till we get the actual official updates for this car in Imola, but they do have a higher downforce rear wing here if they need it, if the rain is going to come. Looking at the next 4 teams, we have Aston Martin, Alpine, Sauber, and Williams. And from looking from top to bottom, it is all different on every single car actually here. Looking at the Aston Martin, it's a medium to high downforce. They have solved a lot of their drag issues. Actually, they were the fastest team in Japan, funny enough, with the exception of Haas, who was very low loaded. And the car has been much more efficient with these new updates. They do say they want to extract so much more here, and there's so much more from these updates, which is pretty exciting as an Aston Martin fan. The Alpine car has always gone for this medium-low type of spec. It's because the car is draggy and their engine is almost always down, apparently, in these regulations, so they need a rear wing to kind of compensate for that. The Sauber car has gone for a medium downforce, and the Williams is in between a medium to a low. It's very interesting to see that every team here has kind of mixed it up. We don't have pictures of the Haas. I will show you the RB later. Continuing with our upgrades, the sponsor of today's video is Surfshark. Surfshark is an app or browser extension that lets you place your location anywhere in the world so you can access the internet as if you were there. Living in America, this is extremely useful for me because Formula 1 content is mainly distributed from the UK. Specifically Sky Sports, and if I want to access Sky Sports and get any of those exclusive interviews or content that they have before anybody else, I can use any of my devices, change the location from America to the UK, and this allows me to view the video and gain access to that content. It also helps me if I want to travel to any of the European races or anything out of America because it gives me a chance to change my location and see if any of those ticket prices are more affordable or cheaper for me to be able to travel to a race. It does all this and it keeps my identity safe at the same time, which is just another beauty to it. There's really no risk in giving it a shot. Surfshark offers a 30-day money-back guaranteed, and with my code Unchained, you get another 3 months extra for free. Thank you so much, Surfshark, for sponsoring today's video. Now, before going into some of the other upgrades, I want to talk about some parts of the track. Looking here, this is the last corner before going into the straight for the start-finish line. This corner has always been one where drivers will go off track, and track limits has been very popular here. Especially nowadays with the way that laps are being done, you can't go over track limits and it kind of be looked at the other way. Now it's you pass the white line, you get a track limits warning, and that's that. They had a brilliant solution. I'm so glad this is implemented. They put gravel there. Now this is really going to determine in qualifying who's got the balls to actually go for this lap and extract the most time that they can. Because this corner is tricky, if you go into gravel, you pretty much lose out on your lap. Doesn't really matter about the track limits at this point, but a lot of time can be made up if you commit to it correctly. In the race, this is going to be really important, especially if it's wet or dry. It's going to be interesting and a brilliant solution. They need to do this on way more tracks than what they've done. The runoff is cool, but this is way better for racing, and it shows who is perfect at nailing the lap. If we look at the Ferrari wing, we do see they have a gurney flap on the upper edge of this front wing. We've seen them implement that a lot. It doesn't actually go throughout the whole entire wing, but it's something they can either put on or off, and we'll see what they do. I think they'll keep it on considering they're a medium load to try and help with that front downforce because, as I said, a front-loaded car is really good here. You need to have that grip, especially through turns 1 and 3. And then going into turns 10 and 13, you need that front-ended grip to be able to get a good exit. It's super important for overtakes as well as qualifying. Looking at the Alpine, as you can see, 2 different front wings again. The top one is the one they've started the year with. The bottom one is the upgraded one they brought a couple of Grand Prix ago. Has a gurney flap to the top. Both of them actually do. This car is a boat at the moment, currently very understeery, but they have brought an upgrade that we will talk about. Looking at some of the cooling packages that teams have brought here, I expect these gills to be pretty much closed up by the end of practice 1. Because of the cold conditions, it shouldn't be very hot here, and I expect cooling to be at a minimal. Aston Martin never has any cooling. McLaren has a slight cooling as we can see, but it's pretty much closed up for now. Mercedes has the most cooling out of any car. I think this goes along with their issue, but supposedly in colder conditions they are faster and better, so let's see if that stays true to what they're saying. Ferrari also has the 2 minimal gills open on its car, but I expect these to be closed up as well. They've gone with 1, and they've actually closed it up completely in certain Grand Prix. I think Japan, they didn't even have a single one. Now looking at an upgrade brought here, so Alpine actually brought an upgrade, and they brought a floor upgrade. Is it as significant as that of Aston Martin or any of the other teams? It's a pretty big one. They've brought a change to the underfloor and the floor edge. As you can see, they've implemented that little part to bring more air to the diffuser. Some teams have this, some teams don't. If you actually look at the Red Bull and Aston Martin, they've shied away from this, and it depends on what your underfloor situation is. Some teams see the benefit of this. This was very popular in 2022, and we see Alpine now implementing this, but we can also see that that floor rear edge has been changed as well with the metal grates put it into it, and the way that the air is being distributed to the rear part of the car, hitting that beam wing if the air is going in that direction. Alpine needs a big change, and they need that front to bite. Let's see how big of a change this is. They do say that it's still going to take time for them to catch the rest of the cars. Here's also a picture of Nico under the Haas car. There is a floor coming here. Nothing yet is pictured, unfortunately. I hope that we get something soon. And if it is a even bigger upgrade than the floor itself, I'll even make a separate video for it. But nothing has yet been pictured. We're probably going to see him more towards the Grand Prix weekend. A team that did bring a floor upgrade last weekend that I didn't cover was the RB team. They've brought a floor upgrade in Japan, and they're keeping that floor for this Grand Prix. They changed the underfloor and the floor edge part. It's not too different than that to what they had of before, at least looking from the top, but they've changed a lot of the underfloor parts. They also have that new chassis coming here for Daniel Ricciardo. Let's see if that changes anything. The actual floors seem to have been helping. They said in low speed, that's where it's supposed to help. So here in China, we're going to actually see if this floor upgrade does its magic like they've been saying it's supposed to. It's going to matter on the drivers a lot on whether they can get the correct lap in qualifying and if they can keep those rear tires in good shape throughout the race. Whether it's wet or dry, it's very driver dependent, and China is going to be a very chaotic weekend. Some of the track is resurfaced, some of it isn't. Tire wear is going to be really high here, but it's going to make for a very intriguing weekend. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe. Thank you Surfshark again for sponsoring the video, and thank you guys for being around. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.